everybody. Welcome to the awesome guest panel. My guest at this time, let me just say, this man is an ECW original. He is the quintessential stud muffin. He is.
And well, he is the lyrical miracle, the sexual, intellectual, and the quintessential stud muffin. Joel, I've humped your mom so many times, she might as well be a camel. And we always give her more than she can handle. And when I'm done and she's ready, we head over to Pete's YouTube channel and consume all we can of Petey's awesome guest panel, Gertner. What's up, man?
Welcome, Mr. Gertner. Let me just say that you are a true to ECW original. I do have like a couple of questions I definitely want to ask. First off, what was the audition like? I mean, for like your tryout for ECW. Take me there.
I asked for the job. I asked for the audition. I met Paul and I walked up to him and introduced myself and just offered to be at a show that was somewhat local to me and that was outside Philadelphia. And I mentioned that we had a mutual friend, and I mentioned that I had spoken with him calling into different radio shows and was a big admirer of his work and following his career. And I don't know, I must have resonated the right way. And he just looked at me when I was done asking, and he said, "You want it?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "You got it. Be there by 5." And that was it. That was the beginning of 5+ years.
Cool. And out of your entire tenure in ECW, what was your favorite pay-per-view that you have participated in?
Oh gosh, I don't know, man. That's a tough one. First one that comes to mind, I guess, is when I wrestled Cyrus at Anarchy Rules 2000, because that's the only pay-per-view that I wrestled on. But God, so many of the pay-per-views were so special in all of their different ways.
Cool. And now you worked with the Dudley Boys. What was it like working with Bubba and Devon?
It was great. They're good guys. They love the business, and we were all just young and looking to make a name for ourselves. And none of us had been to any of the other promotions, TV kind of worldwide promotions. So we were all kind of finding our way together, and it was a cool faction and stable to be a part of. Just with an interesting dynamic. I think the best way that I could probably convey the vibe is that when it came to kind of dealing with me, it seemed like Devon was the good cop and Bubba was the bad cop. And it was an amazing ride with them. And I think we were together for probably more than 2.5 years.
Great. Memories of working with the Sandman.
Hack is a genius. He's really bright. A lot of people may not assume that or may assume otherwise. But once you get to know him, for anybody who knows him at all at length or in detail, he is very smart and very creative. And the only games of backgammon that I've ever played in my life are against him, because one day in the locker room he taught it to me, and then we played it that night. But just really a good wrestling mind, a good guy, a loyal friend, just really a kind of down to earth, salt of the earth kind of guy. Just all business. I mean, you know what you're getting from him, and he just, one of those guys that just says what he means and means what he says.
Very cool. Now, when ECW folded in 2001, like what was your initial reaction when you found out like that that it folded and then WWE eventually purchased it?
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough. It was just a bad roll of the dice. You know, it was something that a lot of us assumed could or would happen. It was something that kind of the writing was on the wall a bit, but still, when it happened, it you know, it's kind of you know, at best, it's getting let go from your job, which is never a good thing anyway. At best. And at worst, it's you wondering if the dream that you've been chasing, you know, for your career and for your life, you know, you worry whether you'll be able to, you know, get back on the horse and get back into it and find another outlet. And, you know, it was just tough. It was really tough.
I'm actually shocked that you know WWE didn't pick you up because you were actually you were a really good manager. So I'm actually shocked that WWE they picked up so many ECW originals. Like how come they didn't take you? Like you would have been an excellent manager at WWE, in my opinion.
I don't know. You know, I'm not sure. Guess I'm not the right person to ask. But yeah, you know, I don't know. I wouldn't know. I know that I had the opportunity to work the first ECW One Night Stand pay-per-view, and was told to treat it as an audition, and would have anyway. And just not exactly sure why things haven't clicked through the years. At one point, I was speaking with somebody there in the office before I signed my contract with ECW and before the TNN show. There was a feeler out, and I had a conversation with an official there. Then I signed my deal, and there was the TNN era. And then when ECW was going out of business, I reached back out. We, you know, 5 years later, did ECW One Night Stand. So you know, I don't know. There was interest at one point. Maybe it was just a timing thing, but I've never regretted riding with ECW, kind of ride or die, and being loyal and just acting accordingly. That they were the ones that gave me my break, and I never thought really about leaving. Even when I was talking with WWE in the late '90s, I you know, I did it, and I made the decision, you know, and a lot of it I think is how much you pursue and what kind of pursuit you put into it. And I think over the years, who knows, you know, maybe if I would have pursued more or pursued differently, you know, I might be there now, and maybe not. You know, it's really tough to tell. There's a lot of butterfly effect in there, and you know, you just, I don't know. You'll never know the reason unless you're told. You might not even know the reason then. You know, I don't know.
I see. And you mentioned ECW One Night Stand. I remember back in 2005 watching this. I remember your scene. You had two scenes. You had one with JBL, and then you had one with Eric Bischoff. What was it like working with Bradshaw and Eric Bischoff?
It was great. A lot of fun. Those guys were super professional. Um, you know, treated me like a colleague, even though, you know, they've both been to the top of the mountain and it was our first time working together and stuff. They just, you know, nobody was big dog in anybody. Nobody was big league in anybody. It was really, really fun. And JBL, it might have looked like he stuck his foot all the way up my ass, but in truth, it was so professional. It felt like a pillow fight. I mean, it was just, it looked so much more devastating, the work with him, than it was. He protected me, took care of me. Just great working with him, and Bischoff too. I've caught up with Bischoff a time or two at a convention since then, and just you know, has always treated me well, and just a really cool guy. Yeah.
What was your favorite like aside from like when you worked the angles with Bischoff and Bradshaw? What was your favorite match of that night though for One Night Stand 2005?
Oh gosh. Um, they did Eddie versus Chris, didn't they? Wasn't there an Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit on the show? Yeah, I think probably that.
And there was so many like stuff that happened that night. Like I read like stuff online. Like one was that Eddie and Chris got into an argument backstage. Like that's one thing I heard. Like because like like the rumor has it that Eddie was like because he was in heel mode. He was a heel at the time, so it came off like he wasn't like like he was still in character, but it was a totally different show. Like Jericho, like Chris Jericho was not Y2J that night. He was Lionheart, which is what he was known in ECW and I think WCW. But I think ECW. I could be wrong with WCW. But there was that. Then I heard the story about Francine and Dawn Marie altercation backstage. I don't know if any of that's true. But and then of course the Bradshaw Blue Meanie thing. I'm sure you heard that one, right?
Yeah.
What was your thoughts like what happened, like what transpired between Meanie and Bradshaw?
I only know what I've heard or heard about after the fact. I wasn't there when it happened, and I actually didn't know about it until probably well after the fact, maybe the next day, seeing about it online or something like that. I was kind of oblivious to it that day.
I see. And you know what I loved about your segment though was that it was very believable because it made people think, oh, there is real like tension and it was like it almost came off like a shoot, like with the way Bischoff with the beer when he threw the beer at him. Like, I really thought it was a shoot. Like when I was watching this, I really thought everything was like not kayfabe. I thought it was a shoot.
Yeah, I guess that was the intention. Um, but it was so much fun. Yeah, and it was great to work in that environment and in a whole different system from ECW. ECW, everything was kind of just, put it together as it comes and kind of piecemeal, and everything was just kind of, fly off the seat of your pants, and there's no makeup and there's no lighting and there's no pyro, and everything is just kind of really put together kind of like a patchwork quilt. And WWE is just so structured, and there are actual scripts with, somewhere between bullet points and more complete verbiage. And you'll get handed a script at 4 o'clock, and then at 6 o'clock you'll get a 6 o'clock update. I mean, it's really, really structured. And so it was just cool to see the other side of pro wrestling production, because ECW just had so much less of that structure.
It was so cool that night. And what was your favorite place to go to? The Hammerstein Ballroom or the ECW Arena in Philly?
Um, Both have a special place in my heart, because ECW Arena is where many of my career highlight moments happened. It's kind of where I grew up in the business, and where the character of the quintessential stud muffin grew up. And it was ECW's home base of operations. And I love ECW Arena for all the reasons that there are to love it. And then when it comes to the Hammerstein, that's a building that I first was at for wrestling as a fan. I would go see Monday Night Raw at the Hammerstein, and I appeared, I think, once on camera, from the Hammerstein during an episode of Monday Night Raw. And then, flash forward however many years, 13 years, whatever it is, 12 years. And here I am performing on camera at the same building, which is also right here in my hometown. The night of the pay-per-view, I wasn't flown in. There was no trans involved. It's my hometown. So, I got there at noon. I worked until midnight, and by 12:15 I was home. I just took a cab and I was home. And it was hard that night to kind of wind down and just take it all in and absorb the fact that, here you were, perhaps it's, if not the pinnacle of your career, it's a pinnacle of your career. You've grown up, the first wrestling you ever watched, WWF wrestling, and now you've worked for WWE, and, you were there doing it for the first time in your life for the whole day, 12 hours, and then 15 minutes later you're home, and it's kind of, it was really kind of surreal. That whole day was just a blast.
Cool. And it's one thing. Did they contact you about the second one night stand, which happened in 2006?
I don't think I was contacted for it. I certainly would have expressed interest and done everything I could to make it happen. So the fact that I wasn't on the show, if I remember correctly, I guess I probably wasn't approached for it. Yeah, that's all I remember.
I see. And like with the and it's ironic too with the 2005 one because you were there and the Dudley boys are there, but you guys, I mean, you weren't managing them that night, which is weird because you've been known to be the manager for the Dudleys for ECW.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it was interesting that they did the creative the way they did with me asking for the job and stuff like that, and not being associated with the Dudley boys. and yeah, that's the direction they went, and I was just happy to be a part of it and glad to be involved.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great. I love the first one night stand. Everyone always says like the first one night stand felt like a send off, like a true send off to ECW. And then, but I do want to talk about another send off to ECW, and that was TNA Hardcore Justice, the Last Stand, where you once again managed the Dudleys. And then at the end of the match, I'm trying to like because it was 10 years. I'm trying to remember it was 10 years ago, but there was a spot where you took a guitar shot from New Jack, right?
Yeah.
Was it New Jack that did it? Like, what was it like working with New Jack, Mustafa? Was it Mustafa?
Yep.
Mustafa?
Mustafa.
And the Dudley Boys.
It's great, great. Always great working with the Dudleys. Technically, I guess for trivia questions, I actually managed Team 3D. And it was the first and only time that I ever managed Team 3D, and I think it was their only time having a manager. But yeah, managed them against the Gangsters, and working with Jack and Staffa is always a blast. It's always fun. Jack's another guy that people who've never met him and don't know him might assume this, that, and the other about him, but I've always loved Jack, and Jack's always, I think, had a spot in his heart for me, and we've gone out and eaten together. He's a foodie, and I'm a foodie, and just it was amazing fun. It was, like you say, another kind of bit of closure, another kind of high school reunion, and another chance to get the gang back together. And everybody gets to hang out and just have fun and get paid and be on TV and just, all the great stuff that we love about wrestling.
Cool. And I do want to ask you this though, Joel, because you actually have taken a guitar shot. What is the secret behind those guitar shots when someone hits somebody with a guitar? Like, what's the magic, the illusion behind that? Like, do they cut the guitar? Like, what do they do to make it break so easily?
There are different effects. I think guitars come in various kind of toughness with the wood. Some are made of a harder wood than other. Some are made with wood that's intentionally hard enough that you wouldn't want to use it for a guitar shot unless you're trying to kill somebody. And some are made of more of a kind of like a ukulele would be, like more of a balsa wood. And then, I've never gimmicked one personally, so I might not be the best person to ask. But the one thing that I know is that you'll sometimes see on a guitar shot, especially if there's too much put in there, you'll sometimes see like baby powder, almost like somebody threw salt in somebody's eyes or somebody threw baby powder in somebody's eyes. And that's to make the effect of the guitar shattering, even more explosive. Sometimes people into the hole in the middle of the guitar will pour some baby powder so that when the guitar shot is executed, not only will the shards of the balsa or the wood or whatever it is, fly all over the place, but you'll also get a kind of, the powder going all over the place.
So, well, with the guitar shot you took from New Jack, was that like, did you feel like pain at all when you took that shot, or no? There was no pain
No,
at all.
I didn't. No, I trusted Jack. I guess he gimmicked it. I didn't, so I'm guessing he did. And I knew that it was gimmicked. I knew that I not that I would expect that it would hurt any more than anything else we'd ever done at ECW, but I was just, as we were going over everything, it was explained to me that that this won't be so bad, and so yeah.
Oh, okay. And well, we mentioned like the Dudley, you managed the Dudleys. What was your reaction like when they jumped to WWE, ECW to WWE? Like, did they tell you, Joel, we're jumping to WWE? Like, or did you get a short? Did you get a short notice?
No, so it was kind of like you said, and this is another instance of timing, right? With you had asked before if I, could have ever maybe had an opportunity to start with WWE. They did pull me aside in '99 and let me know that they either had signed or were going to sign. And I can't remember the conversation verbatim, but I think they did it in such a way as to let me know that there either was interest or that they would be interested, or just to kind of, let me know and advise me so that I could govern myself accordingly. But at the time, it was kind of concurrent. It was kind of simultaneous, where in mid '99, right at around the same time that they were leaving to go to WWE, I was getting the promotion to be color commentator with Joey because TNN was about to start. So as I best remember it, I'm not saying there was a guarantee of a job. I'm not saying there was a contract on the table. But as it comes to instances of timing, and like we talked about, there was 98 before I signed my contract. This was an instance where, as I was about to sign my contract with ECW, the Dudleys had let me know that they were leaving. And again, it comes to pursuit and it comes to timing. And I had an opportunity to move onward and upward within ECW to be Joey's co-host and to be on TNN every Friday. And that's just how it played out. You know, the Dudleys wound up going without me, and I wound up staying in ECW for another year and a half.
I see. And you know what we should have done? Like, you remember when WWE brought back the ECW brand as a third brand?
Yeah.
They should have, and this is just my opinion, I think they should have had Joey Styles on commentating, and then you should have been the color commentator. Nothing against Taz, because I love Taz. I'm a Taz fan.
Yeah.
But I really think that because you two, like both you and Styles were both commentators, I really think it would have been cool, like, had they had two ECW original commentators to do the broadcast booth.
I appreciate that, man. That would have been great.
Yeah, and I do want to talk about too, like in 2005, not only did you participate in ECW One Night Stand, but you also took part in Shane Douglas's Hardcore Homecoming. What was it like doing the Hardcore Homecoming 2005?
Yeah, that was a great show. That was a lot of fun, and it was cool being back at the ECW arena, and always cool working with Joey and with Cyrus. It was fun, and I was glad to be a part of it. And yeah, I mean, it was just a great way to kind of get back to that building. And, you know, again, just like One Night Stand and just like Hardcore Justice, it was a way to kind of provide closure and provide kind of just, you know, an ECW comeback and an ECW kind of revival. And so, yeah.
What was Hardcore coming like for like the wrestlers that were not under contract for with WWE, like Raven, Shane Douglas, New Jack, or were there WWE stars that participated in that one too?
I don't remember if anybody under WWE contract participated in that one.
Because I remember only very few names participated in both. I think Sabu appeared in both of them.
Yep.
You appeared in both of them. Somebody, Blue Meanie appeared in both of them. No, I was just curious. Like, didn't you portray? Because I read online. I remember like reading like the coverage because like online this is when dirt sheets and coverage was like starting to become big. I read like there was a segment in Hardcore Homecoming where it looked like there was a tease between like that you and Cyrus are going to be friends, but then Cyrus was insulting you and Styles. Like, was this like one of those like were you portraying the baby face that night?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And, which is cool because like most of the times you're a heel, right?
Yeah, I think at One Night Stand I was more of a heel, I guess, heel-ish, begging for a job, and then at the TNA one I was with the Dudleys. But I guess the Dudleys, I don't know. I mean, once you've got Team 3D managed by me and up against the Gangsters, I guess I don't know that there was so much babyface heel dynamic in that one. Maybe the Gangsters and Team 3D, maybe we were all tweeners. I don't know, but I think we were. If it's binary, I think we were heels there. So like you say, I don't always play the babyface, but when Cyrus is around, then I can be, with Joey as kind of, the kind of bad guy that you love to hate, and Cyrus being the guy that you just hate. So yeah.
You'd be a foil for Cyrus, right?
Sure.
And then you also earlier, like when TNA was first starting, like you also managed, I believe, the Rainbow Express, which was Alan Funk and Lenny Lane. Like, what was it like managing those two gentlemen?
That was fun. That was my first experience chronologically with a more structured environment, because TNA also kind of had scripts, bullet points, that kind of thing, and it was a lot more organized and assembled than ECW had ever been. So that was because at that point in time, after 5+ years in ECW, and I hadn't ever worked with WCW, and at the time hadn't worked with WWE, my TNA experience was kind of the most structure that I had ever seen within wrestling. And yeah, it was a blast. It was a lot of fun. The production was different. It was just everything was slightly different about it from ECW, and there was a lot of anticipation, and there was a lot of energy, and there was a lot of excitement.
Okay.
That was cool.
And with the Hamside Ballroom, because I always wanted to go there. Like I never been there before, but you know, like how Madison Square Garden, they have different like like there's like five or like more different like things. Like one could be for basketball, one could be for wrestling or etc. But with the Hamside Ballroom, was it just that one room, or was there more rooms in the in the Hamside Ballroom?
They have two rooms, and there might be kind of variations of setups even in each one, but there are physically two different rooms. There's the Grand Ballroom. In Manhattan Center there are two different rooms: Hammerstein Ballroom and Grand Ballroom. And I think Grand Ballroom has had boxing and stuff like that. Hammerstein Ballroom is the one that wrestling is more usually in. But yeah, there are two different rooms there. And I think they even have a production studio on site. Like on the lower level, I think they actually have a studio that they can do production out of.
Well, that's like the TNA, like it was a sound stage, right? That's when you went to arena. There was like many different rooms, like and the Impact was a sound stage, right?
Yeah, yeah, it was one of the sound stages over at Universal.
Now, did you participate at the very like you did, right? Like did you participate at the very end of TNA, The Last Stand, Hardcore Justice, where everyone's celebrating and drinking beer, right?
Yeah, I think I had taken the bump. I had taken, I guess, the guitar shot or whatever. So I was kind of on the fence. I didn't know if I should go out for the end of it, and I think I was told that I should. So I went out kind of. I don't remember if I was in my street clothes instead of my gear, or if I didn't have my neck brace on, or if I only had. I can't remember exactly, but I think I was in the ring for the end of it. Yeah, the beer celebration.
Oh, okay. Now, if you had to like say which was your favorite, One Night Stand 2005 or TNA Hardcore Justice The Last Stand, which would you say would it's like I know you love both of them, but which would you say was your favorite?
They were both so special for different reasons. The TNA show, they took pictures for action figures, and I think they did a Hardcore Justice series of action figures. I was included in the modeling session. Like they did a photo session of me for a potential figure, but the figure was unreleased. But then I also did sign trading cards for Trimark, like autographed trading cards. So those got included. So just little things about the experience. I think I met Jimmy Hart for the first time there, and was on Spike.com, and it was just fun. The day just kind of you moved on from this to that to the other, and it was great getting together with everybody, and I loved it. But like I said before, as somebody that grew up on mid 80s WWF wrestling and watching Channel 9 and Channel 5 locally here in New York, just as somebody who, the way I found wrestling as a kid was through WWF. And again, because I had attended Monday Night Raw at the Hammerstein Ballroom as a fan, there was just something magical about One Night Stand 2005.
Very cool. And I do want to ask, like, with the ECW tickets, whenever you went to the like, whenever you guys performed at the Hammerstein Ballroom, though, like, because like I was too young at the time to go to the Hammerstein Ball. I was 9 years old, like when I started getting into wrestling. But how much were the tickets though for like an ECW show at the Hammerstein Ballroom?
Not the best person to ask, but I think ringside tickets for our big shows, our pay-per-views, stuff like that. Now that one's within the WWE umbrella, so maybe it was closer to their ticket structure. I don't probably at least 100, maybe 125, 150. I don't know if the ringside tickets for One Night Stand would have been 200 or more, but they may have been. But usually ECW's in-house ticketing structure, usually you could get a really good seat for $100 or so. There was kind of none of the, $1,000 and you get to keep the chair type thing. Um, Now, I wish I had a better answer for you, but I don't remember the exact pricing structure for that night.
You know what's one of mine because I rewatch like ECW because I have the network. One of my favorite, like, aside from your ECW appearance on One Night Stand, one of my favorite ones was when you involved yourself in the 1998 Heatwave match when it was Tommy Dreamer, the Sandman, and I think it was Spike Dudley, and it was against you and the Dudleys. I mean, that was one of my favorite Joel Gertner.
Thanks.
What was your memory of like being in that match though, competing against like wrestling in that match?
Anytime I wrestle, I mean, I wasn't a trained wrestler. I had gone, the wrestling school that I came through when I was managing when I was a teenager. I took like one wrestling day, one lesson, so to speak, and it was all that I needed to know that the wrestling end of it kind of wasn't for me. But it was great to do because now when I'm on color commentary, I can talk about stuff like how even having your back hit the mat wins you and hurts you, and how every time you get whipped into the ropes, it's painful, and going through the ropes and the motions and kind of seeing how tough it is to wrestle, I think only helps me as a color commentator. But anytime whether it was wrestling against Cyrus, taking those chops from him at the pay-per-view, which, he gave it to me as good as he could and as good as he would any other wrestler, and just, whether it's wrestling Cyrus or wrestling Blue Meanie or, wrestling in six mans or just taking bumps, just taking bumps from the canvas to the floor and just, taking a chair shot, taking a moonsault, taking a super bomb, whatever it is, it's just, it's not easy, but it's, you love the business and you do it. And as, again, somebody who wasn't trained, I knew how to take a back bump. I knew how to tuck my chin. I knew what I knew, and what I didn't know, the boys were always cool enough to just let me know what I need to know so that it would look great and so that we could get through it and I wouldn't get hurt.
I see. And when you did like you've done commentary before with the headsets, right?
Yeah.
In ECW, right?
ECW, I guess we used headset. So a lot of the stuff I did wasn't live. They used Cyrus live on the pay-per-views, and they used me for post-production doing TNN for the stuff that was recorded. But we had headsets that we had on, yeah.
Because my question was because like or even earpieces, like when you, like, for instance, an ECW One Night Stand or anything, like you always have like this like earpiece, right? Like what, like to give you a cue like to when to go, right?
Yeah, I never worked in ECW so much with an earpiece or an IFB. It was usually a headset. Yeah, yeah, not so much earpieces. Like I say, I mean, we did a lot of stuff on the fly. Some, like the stage manager, definitely had either an earpiece or a headset and was tuned in to the truck and tuned into it definitely is. Even ECW, especially in the later days with TNN, and once there was a little bit more money, everything, yeah, is super well oiled and just super timed and just super, even if there wasn't so much organization in ECW and if it was kind of chaotic, there was always a method to the madness. And yeah, like you say, there's always these kind of TV tricks of the trade, so that everything runs smoothly and that the timing is right on.
Well, with One Night Stand though, like was like when you did the spot with Bradshaw and Bischoff, was there like you were wearing like something like to tell you like to cue to go like to talk to them, right? Or no?
No. Yeah, no, it's stuff like that's a little bit more improv. We did a rehearsal earlier in the day, and no, it's just up to you. It's just theater, it's just up to the boys to give each other their cues verbally and visually.
Oh, I see. Like, and again, like I just loved your performance in One Night Stand though, especially with Bischoff though, like because it was so heelish though, because like that night, every night, I mean, that night was supposed to be like all the ECW wrestlers, regardless if they were heels, they were technically baby faces because the true heels that night were the anti ECW Crusaders, Bischoff and Kurt Angle and JBL in his cabinet. Um, but it was just so funny because when you ask him for a job, it was like I'm watching this, I'm thinking like the way like Bischoff and when JBL shoved you, I'm thinking like the way they did this, it came off very shootish, like came off like a shoot. So the way you guys did that was like perfect though, because I would have never expected to be scripted.
Yeah, yeah, no, it was magic. It was great.
And I'm just shocked that you never got to you didn't go work with the Dudleys that night because like you've been managing the Dudleys like for a very long time before they left for WWF.
Yeah.
Do you like for like whenever they have the ECW pay-per-views like on things, do you get like does WWE give you like royalty checks for every time like like don't they give like some kind of royalty check because you're in ECW and they show ECW a content on their page?
No, so I don't know how it works. I've never had a WWE full-time contract. I had a 2-day contract for ECW One Night Stand, so I was contracted as a freelancer, as an independent contractor for the weekend. So I was given like per diems and stuff like that, and I was paid, and I was given a pay-per-view bonus that I, wasn't told to expect. They really came through big time with that. But remind me the question.
The question was like, do you get like royalty checks for ECW?
Royalties? Yeah, no. So no WWE full-time contract, and actually in my ECW release, to be released from ECW, which I did in an effort to try to talk to WWE and WCW, which we all know, right after ECW went out of business, WCW went out of business. But I stayed with ECW until the very, very, very end. And then when the end was near and the end was clear and there was no bones about it and there was no reason to continue to try to ride with ECW because ECW had definitely come to its end, still there was the business about getting a release. And in the release, you sign away, you say that, all of the IP goes to ECW and this, that, and the other thing. And you just kind of, now WWE bought the ECW library and the intellectual property in bankruptcy court, and they've always been great about, I'm still the quintessential stud muffin everywhere I go. Now, technically, Paul Heyman came up with quintessential stud muffin, so that technically makes it ECW IP, so that technically makes it owned by WWE. So if they had a problem with it, they could shut me down and have me not be the quintessential stud muffin, but that's never an issue. They've always treated me great. But as far as royalties, an argument can be made, depending who you are and depending how you measure, you might say that everybody who's ever worked there is entitled to royalties and everybody's entitled to their opinion. But I know what I signed when I signed my ECW deal. I know what I signed when I signed my ECW release. And I am happy to just be involved and be part of the WWE universe. And hopefully I'll be a fuller part one day in the future, if that should come to pass. But as far as royalties, no, I don't get royalties from WWE.
I see. And not only were you a manager in ECW, but you were also the host of a weekly program called Gertner Vision. Talk about that.
Yeah, that was a segment on the show, and it was kind of similar to GTV, which was around the same time period. But it was just, it was a segment on the show. It was kind of a hidden camera, backstage kind of. WWE every now and again will do something similar to it. It was just a fun thing to do for however many weeks that it lasted. And it would show stuff like the Dudleys, backstage in the bathroom getting ready for the match or whatever. Just kind of a bird's eye view, just an inside look.
Oh, okay. And Joe, before we conclude our interview, because this is an open forum, though, you could talk about anything you want. You have the floor right now.
Oh, wow. Well, no, thank you for having me on. Special shout outs to Brett, Mark, Patrick, and Kevin. I know we've got a mutual friend here in Brooklyn, Jennifer. Jennifer Lindeen Berkowitz. So special shout out to all those people. Um, if you want to stay in touch with me, you can reach out to me on celebvm.com or cameo.com, and you can get a personalized message, a video message from me. My Twitter is StudMuffinSays. My Instagram is Quintessential Stud Muffin. I'm on Facebook as well. I have my own YouTube channel, just my name, Joel Gertner, and we do stuff like cooking shows. We do scratch off lottery. We do auctions of wrestling merchandise, baseball cards. We try to have a lot of fun on there. So please view those, and please do subscribe to the Joel Gertner YouTube channel. And then there's also my podcast, the 69-Minute Eargasm, which you can get everywhere, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get podcasts from, you can get the 69-Minute Eargasm.
Awesome. And Joel, before we conclude this interview, let me just say it was a true to honor interviewing you. I grew up watching you for a very long time. And I'll still remember to this day watching ECW One Night Stand 2005. A 15-year-old me thinking when I heard you say well, I was like, yes.
Thank you, man. I appreciate the love. Thanks.
No, but thank you for coming on again, sir. It's been a true honor.
No, thank you, dude.
Have a good day, a good night, my friend.
You too.
Take care.